All right, what's up, guys? In this video, we're going to be covering something that's kind of cool. We're going to be looking at how to automate your work order productions in Oxygen Not Included. Now, if you're familiar with games like RimWorld and such that already have it built in, where if you need something created, you can tell your people to keep a supply. So let's say, you needed a specific amount of, I don't know, med packs and Oxygen Not Included. Maybe you don't want to have to keep requeuing med packs all the time as you need them. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to just have your colony maintain and always keep, let's say, 5 on hand? And that's exactly what we're going to cover. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do just that. All right, so we're back in my beautiful Utopia colony that I've kind of been AFK playing. And as you can see, I've been doing some redecorating and moving stuff around for those of you that are familiar. So the place is always kind of under construction in one shape or another. Lots of little things that I've had to touch up. You guys are always great at seeing all the little details that I may have missed or, maybe haven't got around to putting in yet. Passive cooling exchange on the volcano, lighting and stuff that didn't need to be there. All sorts of little things anyways. So it always amazes me the stuff that you guys find. Lots of times I just, haven't got around to installing stuff. And a lot of times I don't even know. And then you guys are teaching me so much as I go. So I appreciate it. So let's get back. So going back to the medical example. Now, why are these guys all damaged? What's going on with them? So let's say in here, and I deal with this all the time, where you say, okay, so for your medical packs or allergy medication, for instance, I like to have a couple on hand so that, if somebody does get slime lung on the odd chance, or, somebody, let's say, has food poisoning, I want to know that there's some made and ready to go, and I don't have to come back over and constantly be checking it. I am going to do a video in the future where we're going to be going over all the medication and cost requirements and, what's worth it and what's not, but that'll be for another video. So the way that I have been doing this is I use smart storage bins with NOT gates to basically cycle this through. So now it kind of sucks because you do need to have, let's say, one station per, okay? But the way you would do it is you're basically going to have a station, and then we're going to take a smart storage bin, and then we're going to swap the signal because the smart storage bins give green signals when they're full. So we don't want green signals, we want red signals. So we put one of those guys in there. Add a little bit of automation. So we're going to connect these two together, and then we're going to connect this would go like this. Okay, we already have the power that's sitting in this room. And so we don't have to put that in. Wait for these guys to build this. And there we go. So again, the concept here is very simple. So if we say that if we look at a medical supply and I'm just going to use medical as an example for this, but this universally works for anything. Atmos suits, you could do it for production levels, let's say for converting refined metals, iron ore, and basically anything you can think of, and which will actually help you reduce dupe work, right? Not reducing the work, but you're making it more efficient for them so that they're not wasting time building stuff on repeat cycles, and you're having to do less micromanagement of what the dupes are doing on a daily basis. But so let's say we look at using the medical pack, for example. Actually, I think I have a bunch of those already. I probably don't have, let's say, rad pills, for instance. Okay, so we look at the rad pills, and we say the rad pills use 1,000 grams of coal. So if we wanted to keep rad pills on hand, we could come over to here and we would just write rad pill. We would click it on here. Now, these things, when you look at how much they cost to make, we're looking at 1,000 grams of coal. So you could come in here and we would say that we want it to hold, you know, potentially, let's say 5 of them. Okay. So you would set that to this. And then, did I already set the rad pill? I did. Okay. So rad pill set to hold 5. And then you would come in here for the video, we'll just do 1 so that it goes faster. And then you just come back here and you just set this on infinite. And you could actually, we don't need this on 9. I would like them to prioritize putting it in here, but they don't need to prioritize. Well, no, that would be priority for making. So yeah, we could up this just to make sure that, you know, it is going in here. So anyway, so right now, our signal, right, should be admitting signal that it needs. So this thing is currently enabled by automation grid because it's getting our signal through here. So you can see here, right? So this is flipping like this. So the storage is telling it that this thing should be running. And then we will see here in a second. He will make his pill, maybe. Oh, well, he ate the pill. Okay. Oh, the rad pill's ones that they're just going to eat on default, not necessarily when they need it, right? All right, this is going to be a never-ending issue. All right, let's try a curative tablet instead. My bad, swap that off. And that's going to be something that I want to cover in another video, is actually looking at the cost requirements of the medicine. I think that a lot of people are, you know, don't use the medicine, and I think that prices and stuff, that there's some stuff to cover there. Anyway, so here you can see the guy came, he fills it up, and so we have 1 at 1,000 grams. So we're set to 1 kilogram. So now it's full. So I must have already had some made somewhere. And now you'll see that this is sending a red signal. So it would shut the station down. And that is the gist of the whole thing. You can automate anything in the game so that you never have to tell your dupes to make stuff again, and they can just do it on their own. Now, you might be looking at this and saying, okay, so if I wanted to do multiple items, medicine, for example, we need multiple stations, because this is kind of one of the downfalls. You would need to have 1 station for each bin, because you can only have 1 of them on Finite. So we would have to have an extra one over here to do our med packs, right? Sorry, go like that. Let's say automation. We go like that again. Bada bing, bada boom. P9 this so that it gets done this year. All right, these guys are throwing this together here. Go Frankie. So now for the med packs, we would repeat the whole thing. So let's say we did 1, and then we would run med packs on infinite. We'd come in here and put med pack. There we go. So you have to do 1 setup for everything. So now we look at this, and the issue is that, well, dang, these storage bins are running 60 watts each. And, you know, when you start to put that into perspective, when we look at, you know, like output potential of some of these buildings, let's say, how much of these? That's 800, right? Off of one of these natural gas, let's say. So if you can imagine that if you started putting, you know, a bunch of these around, you would need crap tons extra power just to support these silly little bins. So in comes the solution so that these things don't cost any power. Let me show you. So keeping in mind that this stuff is the whole intention of this design here is just to preserve, or to not spend a lot of power. I said before, I was like, you know, it's not going to use any power. It still uses power, but it uses like fractional, like it's such a small amount compared to having, you know, a never-ending rolling 60 that's accumulating. And you know, all the automation stuff, like it sucks, like it takes up a lot of room once you start having to stack different signals and stuff, and different, you know, little automation sensors. But like, you know, once you have, especially into the mid or late game, I mean, like, you know, I have never-ending cobalt right now, so you're going to have materials. It's not costing you power, so you can mess around as much as you want, right? So that shouldn't be an issue, besides the fact that it is. And I don't like, I'm not a mods player. I actually despise mods, generally speaking, depending on what they are. But it's not that I despise mods as much as I don't like easy. I like to keep things hard. It's what motivates me to continue to play games. And so when I think of mods, I associate it with kind of like cheating. And so depending on the type of mods, but there are a couple quality of life mods, especially since I've started making videos, that I've kind of allowed into my circle. The one of them here is the blueprint mod, which I really like. And it allows me to recreate things quickly. I don't remember how it works. Yeah, so like you would go, and so like when I'm making my videos, I can like copy my stuff. Like there's a bathroom when you're moving stuff around. There you'll see the lights when I just did my light video. And not because I'm like, I just use it to save myself time, really. And the reason I'm suggesting it is because, like, you could, if you design this or you figure out how to make it work, you could, you can copy and paste it. There's a copy button here as well. And one of the other ones that I've started using is something to do with the tiles, where it gives you like better distribution of the information on the tiles so that you can see better. And then I also have a mod that shows you traffic, lets you see like where the busy traffic routes are on your base, and this one shows you your transit. So again, these don't affect my game and making it, easier or more difficult in any shape or form. But I just thought I'd mention that in case you look at this and you're like, oh shit, I wouldn't want to build this a million times. Well, you could build it once and copy and paste it. No big deal. All right, here we go. So again, we start with storage bin, and then we're going to need to route power to this. So the way that we're going to do this is we're going to automate the power availability to this item, and we're going to do a pulse setup. So that we're going to basically have it pulse check. What am I looking for? Run it on a timer like that. And then we're going to use a memory gate to trigger the memory of the signal to leave it open. Power. So basically what we're looking at here is, a big messy way of doing this. I'm going to put it sideways. But you can compact this however you want it. But this is, the way that it saves power. And then we would use our medicine station again, something like that. All right, let's get them to build this. If anybody knows of another way to do this, I'm all ears. This is the only way that I've ever been able to figure out how to do this. This is not something that I like Googled or looked up. Maybe people have already discovered a better way to do this. I don't know. But this is how I do it. So the logic here is pretty simple. We have a look at our items here. So same thing we just did, right? We're using the smart bin to control the use of the apothecary. We're using a memory toggle in order to remember the signal that it receives from the smart bin. And the reason that's important is because we're going to leave the smart bin turned off to conserve power. But the smart signal only gives us a signal when the bin's full. So if the bin is, not full and off, we're not getting a signal. So it becomes very hard to get automation to work when we don't have any signal to work with. So the first time I did this, that was a huge part of the hiccup for me. That was a real pain in the butt. So we're going to start by routing our power, which I've already done, into here. And then we're going to have our automation wire connecting from here to here, which I did already. And then this is going to be kept on a separate. You do not want to interconnect these two together. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to run our bin out into the ins on our buffer. And we need 2 signals on this. I don't know if I just said that, but we need 2 signals on this. So if you haven't used one of these before, first of all, you find them near the back of the research. It's right here. If you're looking. And the way that they work is that you basically have an output signal, and then you have a set and a reset. And so it's designed to be kind of like a memory. So it remembers the last green signal that it got, and that's, basically what it sends out. So the set port, if you send the green here, it will remember that it got a green signal here, and it will send it out green here. And then the reset, if you send a green here, it will remember that it got a green here, and it will remember it as a red coming out. Now, the reason this is a pain, and the reason why we're using all these buffer things and this conversion, is because we want to maintain this the same colors and only have one different color coming in when we need it. So if you have like a red coming in on one side and a green coming in on this side, it will not work. If you flip it, it will not work. It only works if you have red and red on both sides. And then when you need a green, you need an independent green signal. So let's say they're both red and then one flashes green for a minute. That will be the last signal that was remembered. If this one flashed green for a minute, that would be the last signal. But you cannot have a solid green line sitting, or it will just like hijack the whole system. Okay. All right. So moving forward, connect my things here, and then I run them in here. And then we connect here. So we're using the NOT gate because we're going to flip this signal over here, because, you know, we just need a different colored signal. So now when we look at this, you can see that we've got two different colors, which is contradictory to what I just said, but we will reset them. So one of the things that's really important when you set this like this is you need to set the buffer gate timers to the timer on your switch here. Okay. So, and it doesn't have to be long. So this is a power pulse. This is our power pulse that's going to save our power. So this thing, instead of using 60, it's going to use 60 only for basically, let's say 1 second every 20 seconds. Okay. And that's how we stop it from being a permanent power drain. But now these, like I just said, have to be set to the same that we set to this, or it will never work. And I've tried it many different ways and I could never get it to. Again, I'm not perfect. If you know of a better way, I'm all ears. 20 seconds. And so then I come in here. I always have a hard time clicking on this. Set that to 20. Set this bottom one to 20. This is flipping our signal. So we're getting reverse signal. And then this, we will set this to, let's say, the 1 again. And then let's do our curative tablets, I guess. Yeah. And then here, and we will set our curative tablets on infinite forever. And now you'll see. So I'm going to unpause it, and you look and you say, oh, well, it doesn't work, right? Because we still got two different color signals. So these will reset with the buffer, timer. So it has to reset. So when this finishes, it should click those over. If I did it right, I guess I didn't do it right. Hold on. Let me see what I messed up on. Dun, dun, dun. Whoa, whoa, whoa. No cooking yet. Hold on. Let me disconnect. No cooking. So right now we should be getting a green signal. Oh, that's why it's not working. Okay, never mind. It is doing what it's supposed to do. Okay, yeah. So green signal we want enabled. Storage is empty. All right. It checks. Keep signal. Signal is defaulting green. He's gonna make his thing, and then, assuming he doesn't eat it. Oh, wait. Okay, so now he filled it, right? So now it's flipped over. The buffer's hit. The buffer is gonna reset right now, and you'll see that now this building is disabled. The other thing I have to make sure that I do is we're always going to set this to basically a little bit higher than that. And then now this should hold. Buffer holds. You'll see it click over. It's going to recheck 1 second, decides that the container is still full, maintains this being off. Now, I know it's a lot here, but this is so that we don't use the power. Okay, so perfect, actually. He just comes and he eats it. Boom, signal, it checks, signal flips, buildings re-enabled. And that's it. Pretty cool. So I set this to 20, but like you could check this, you could get this to check as often as you want. There's a fine balance between how long it takes to make the item and how often you want it to check, right? Because what can happen, which kind of happened here, is the guy was so good, he made more pills. They're supposed to take, I think, 20 seconds to make one of these things. I think I've read that somewhere before, but of course I'm not going to be able to find it right now. Solid, dying on solid. Oh, the germs. Anyways, I believe this thing takes like maybe 20 or 50 seconds to make one of these things. So you want to find a balance, because if you leave it open too long, you're not going to have accurate measurements from the container, right? Because if he can make 3 pills before it checks, then you're going to end up with a surplus sitting on the floor. Not that that really is bad, because eventually, you know, they will get fed into the system, and that's fine. But if you want a more precise measurement of what's on hand, you're going to want to have this check more frequently. Again, the more checks, the more often you're going to be toggling your power on for a moment, and whatever. So that's it. That's all. I hope that was helpful. I'm not going to bother. I was going to go over it again in sandbox mode a little bit slower and with more space, but I think this is adequate. I think you guys probably get the hang of it. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, of course, or if you have any tips, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.